Well, if you thought it was sweltering heat here in Shanghai, you must be fantastic in Beijing, where I'm pretty sure majority of the people there are rocking that Beijing bikini to endure the summer weather. And got a couple of coconuts to get through summer with us, as we are Pool Party Fish as well as Pool Party Frost here, and bringing you the LPL today. A big thumbs up for the weather we're having at the moment, or in your case, well, how do you feel? I know you have some thoughts about the current weather in Shanghai.
Yeah, it's great. I love hot weather with 200% humidity.
We normally take the subway to work, but Frostgren said no, we're taking a cab because it's that hot today. But we're loving summer, and we know we've got some fantastic pool party skins out. They are wrapping up the last match we had between JD as well as BLG behind us. However, we have to go over towards Beijing, where RNG's home arena is currently located, and they are getting ready to go up against Vici in the second setup today. Now, this is a top of the table against bottom of the table clash.
Yeah.
RNG, although not the very top, still sitting at second and third place right now, tied up with the likes of JD. Vici have been struggling, however, in this split, and have been for some time in the LPL now.
We look absolutely riveted with the last game as we take a peek over into the RNG room, and hey, it's Abel hanging out. It was Uzi that joined the team last time around, and calm down. I know he's not MLXG and he's not performing too well, but Shahu, he has a family.
What? Hey, put that back, no! Put the clothes back on. This is a family-friendly broadcast, okay? It's not that kind of a broadcast here. Come on, man.
Oh, I don't know what's happening. He's like, this'll fit MLXG.
Yeah, no. It's a little bit too small. We saw RNG having a good time backstage. I know you had some thoughts about that because Uzi was playing Vayne in the last set where we saw an upset against RNG earlier in the week, and he was laughing even though the team lost after he got picked off before Teamfight started.
Okay, here's some real talk very quickly. The LPL, if you're new to watching how this broadcast works, we play a lot of games in the LPL. We're the largest region. We play more than any other region in the world, and what that means is burnout. And when you're a team like RNG, and if you're a player like Uzi who plays All-Stars, Worlds, MSI, Spring Split, Rift Rivals, into Summer Split, things get a little bit loopy around week 7.
Yep.
I know the whole sandbag meme. I'm going to change the word. It's not sandbagging, it's vacation. This is full G2. And sometimes you just need to take a break. You just need to take a breather. And that's what we see happen a lot of times. Burnout is a real thing.
It is. For context, there are 7 teams in each conference, 2 different conferences, and they play each other twice. Now, they also play every team in the other conference once during cross-conference. That's a lot of games to go through, and it's not like the NA or ULCS. These are all best of 3. So it couldn't come down to what I think it was 526 games at the bare minimum, and then even more if every game goes to a best of 3.
And ultimately, it's also a traveling circuit. It's not like you live in LA and then you're traveling to Santa Monica and you're just playing best of 1, best of 1, best of 1. It's you're in Beijing one day and then you need to be in Shanghai the very next day, and then you're flying over to Xi'an, and then you're going down to Hangzhou. You know, you're bouncing all over China, so it can be a very grueling schedule. And then on top of that, to try to make every series count, it's a weighted playoff gauntlet, which every single position in the ladder means that you are one less best of 5 away from representing China at Worlds.
I mean, they did a case study in the Major League Baseball in America where teams that were traveling to different arenas, if they lost even an hours of sleep total just from traveling alone, they would score 1.24 runs less on average.
So we just equate that to League of Legends, and that's why we have so many solo deaths.
We equate that to the likes of teams traveling constantly throughout the week. Like, if they have to travel that many times throughout the week, it'd be devastating. I mean, we saw Snake at the start of Spring Split. You know, they lost their first opening game. Then it seemed like the Snake pit would just consume everyone because they got the opportunity to just stay there and let teams travel to that venue. But now with more teams opening up to different stadiums, I know that JD's looking to move to Beijing next split. But with RNG moving there now, they've got the comfort of their home arena, but still dropping games recently. And we haven't quite seen them pick up the form that we saw them leave behind when they were the MSI champions, because that's when they were on top of the world, and they've been quite vocal that they want to be the best this split, and Uzi wants to win Worlds. He wants a chance at the finals once again, and this time we know he wants to take it home.
And it's why we're very careful about our language when we say that JD Gaming are the best current performing team, as opposed to JD Gaming are the best team in the LPL. It always has to have that context of right now, because we always expect teams like RNG to have that 6th gear, that when push comes to shove, when you no longer have the, excuse of, okay, we're going to take it easy, we're on game 9,999, that put it into drive, and just start rolling over opponents because we know that RNG can just flex on people when they want to. Now, will they flex on Vici today? We expect it because Vici are the last place team in the LPL. But if things start to get a bit silly, if we start to see some weird picks, calm down. RNG are fine, I assure you. We see this every split. I'm an LPL veteran. I've been through these wars.
The funny
It'll be okay.
The funny thing is, I'm actually looking forward to some of the unique picks that we can
I'm
get
not.
because, like, look, Uzi pulled out Vayne, and no matter when, no matter what, no matter where, no matter when Uzi picks up Vayne, everyone gets excited for that because it is his signature pick. And it is RNG taking on Vici in this matchup. You said it best, top of the table against bottom of the table clash. This is RNG's time to show that, yes, they might be facing some burnout. Yes, Uzi had his shoulder injury and stepped away from competitive play for quite a few weeks. And that's where they didn't really use Abel that much. They experimented with Satai as well as Let Me playing the exact same squad. Sometimes MLXG and Cast are at the exact same time, but we don't talk about those games. Now that they brought Uzi back in, they have to show that when they're going up against a team like Vici, this is where they can start to make statements. This is where they can show that they still have the potential to be that dominant team. But Vici are not going to go down without a fight. They've got Audi, Swift, Coco, Martin, as well as Sintai as their starting lineup.
And we've also seen a lot of experimentation come out of Vici. It's now Swift's team, and he's got the bromance of Coco in the mid lane. And Coco is the shining light. I feel like if you're a Vici gaming fan, you might as well be a Coco fan. And there's not much else to really jump on board here. They're still trying to figure it out. They're still trying to put it all together, but they're fun sometimes.
They have been doing that for some time, whereas for the side of RNG, they're starting with Let Me, MLXG, Xiaohu, Uzi, as well as me.
It's the OG squad. MLXG
It's the one.
and Uzi are back in alongside Let Me. This is the El Clasico of RNG, so we'll see if it's enough for them to return to form, or if we're, day 5 out of 5 on a vacation.
And again, this is the time for RNG to return to form. They have to try and start picking things up as they move towards playoffs, because we know that they can hit it into 6th gear, but they need to be consistent before they do that. If not, they'll be trying to get things together at the start of playoffs, which is not good.
And there's definitely some pressure on them to make it perform, because you just saw JD Gaming dismantle BLG not a few moments ago, and RNG could very well lose 2nd position to JDG.
Yes.
And then that means that they're on the same side of the bracket as Invictus Gaming. So the difference between being in 3rd and being 2nd means that you either face IG in the finals, if you assume that IG would go to the finals, or you must go through them to then make your own trek to finals.
We only have 2.5 weeks left in the LPL, and if you look at the score between JD as well as RNG, JD are far ahead. I know it's only 12-11 and RNG are playing this match today, but JD have still played 2 games more if you discount today's matches than RNG, and it's 2 losses that RNG have picked up. Sorry, JD have not played 2 games that RNG have already played.
They got 2 games in hand.
Yeah, 2 games in hand, and RNG have already lost 2 of those matches, so there's a good buffer for JD if they keep winning. They don't drop a single game from now all the way to the end of the split. It's in their hands. RNG will place 3rd.
And it's not like, RNG dropped to a team like Invictus Gaming that was expected. It was an upset. It was RNG falling to Suning Gaming. Now we do have the e-commerce wars coming up, as well as, RNG versus Invictus Gaming. 2 very important matches, because those will probably be the determining factors of who actually takes that 2nd place seed and who's going to have to go through Invictus Gaming if they want to make to run finals.
And the last match that we saw between BLG as well as JD, these are 2 teams with very big organizations behind them. BLG being a big anime streaming platform in China, as well as JD being a big e-commerce website that is very popular in China as well. Whereas these 2 teams, they're just historic esports organizations. RNG, they had their run a long time ago and now regaining form with the new organization of Royal Never Give Up, as well as Vici, very famous in a lot of different esports titles, but haven't been able to find their footing in League of Legends.
Yeah, to be frank, Vici Gaming are a $300 car with a $3,000 stereo in it, and at some point they need to start upgrading some of their key pieces, because while Coco sounds great on bass, you're not going over 35.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you can't actually drive the car anywhere, so let's see what they do in this match. As we get into Champions Select, what's going on there, RNG? Kind of missed the ban in the last ban. Xiaohu caught sleeping. There's Darius as well as Aatrox with the other 2 bans from RNG. Rakan, Camille, and Sinjal taken away by Vici. They lock in Tom Kench. It's their first pick of choice.
And I like the fact that they are paying respect to Audi on the Darius. Now, Vici have been flexing most recently with their top lane position, just trying to find something that works. Audi, formerly of Edward Gaming, took over a very short stint on that team. He can play carries. He just some of his decision making is quite questionable. And so if you are going to exploit Vici Gaming, if you want to suddenly go 9-0, I think you actually just throw a heavy ganking jungler like MLXG and a carry-oriented top laner where you make sure that you get the priority matchup and just camp outie, because it could be free food.
Well, for now, it could be Let Me on a carry champion, with the likes of Jace being locked in as the first pick for RNG. MLSG has picked up Gragas, so that can still be flexed between top lane, can be flexed between jungle, as well as support for Ming. So we'll keep track of that later on. Vici decided to lock in Varus as their AD carry of choice. Martin stepping in as the AD carry for Vici today, and Coco looking to lock in his champion of Ryze if he decides to go for this hover pick.
I love the Ryze pick because it also denies or dissuades Xiaohu from looking towards his Zoe, just because we've seen a lot of times in the LPL, it's dangerous to pick Zoe into Ryze. She uses her ultimate, she hops back, she just gets grabbed and popped like a balloon. So we'll see what Xiaohu has in mind here.
Even takes the Ryze away from Xiaohu. We've said you can't really give him this champion because he performs so well on it. It's one of his comfort picks and he's done so well. Doesn't even shy away from the Zoe. He knows that the Ryze can do well into the matchup, decides he'll take it anyway.
So it was kind of trying to call RNG's bluff, and like you said, I really do love the Ryze pick from Coco because it is a denial as well as really empowering Coco. When we saw, nice! When we saw Coco, was caught off guard.
We got plenty of great cosplay today. That's the second Zoe we've seen.
That was an amazing cosplay. I would have rather had her on the stage right there.
Just get her in pool party and bring her over to Shanghai instead. But you were saying?
Coco was popping off on Ryze the last time we got to see it. It's just been unfortunate that he's popping off on Ryze on Vici Gaming, but he's also a very strong performer. And Xiaohu needs to pay respect because Ryze can cause a lot of issues for Zoe.
Ryze definitely can. Both of them holding on to Cleanse at the moment. Plenty of crowd control in that mid lane already with the Sleeping Trouble Bubble as well as the Rune Prison. Ezreal is the first ban that comes out in the second ban rotation for Vici, whereas Malphite as well as Nocturne have been taken away by RNG.
And then the question is going to be, what does Uzi play into the Varus since he doesn't have access to Kai'Sa or Ezreal? Now, normally it's the Ezreal is the go-to. You itemize you itemize first into the Sheen. I think he should go Ashe personally, but without the safety of the Tahm Kench, maybe Ashe isn't viable to work.
Vladimir, let's go. Play a mage in the bottom lane, Uzi. Just completely go away from your brand and identity.
I think it'll be Ashe.
Should be. Don't want to go for a crowd control based champion, it would be Ashe, but might just be the good old protect the puppy composition as we have Cugmore locked in for Uzi in the bottom lane.
You know, we were talking about this on our cab ride into the LPL. We were saying that, you know, as the new patch rolls around, as AD carries get a bit more love or a bit more attention kind of shifting around into them, I still feel that Varus is the strongest ADC on this patch, and then it's about, okay, what do you pick into Varus? And some of the champions we threw out Fish were Ezreal, Ashe, and Kog'Maw, these champions that can compete with Varus's range and try to keep him controlled in lane through trades as opposed to pushing power.
I had a good chat with Skara at Hyperplay in Singapore, and he was talking about that, especially with the points towards champions like Kog'Maw being played in the LPL. He feels that, you know, it's very popular in the LPL even when it's off meta. Then when you go to NALCS, EULCS, you don't really have Kog'Maw players, you just have people who will play Kog'Maw when it's in meta. Haven't seen it too much internationally, but Uzi's just a person that will pick it up from time to time. This is a champion that he's comfortable playing, and there's lots of AD carries in the LPL that can do that. Vici going to respond with Ornn as their top lane pick of choice, and Skarner that's been locked in for Swift. So plenty of crowd control coming out from every single one of the champions that Vici have locked in.
And it is such a stock standard composition. We see this run all the time in the LPL. Like you said, pick is the name of the game with single target lockdown and hard CC. Vici have an abundance of it, so it should be very easy to execute on this composition. Whereas RNG, they don't really have a lot of disengage potential. They effectively have Cask from Gragas, and this is what they needed. They needed another true tank. So I like the fact that they pick up the Sejuani, flex that Gragas into the support position, and start creating more of that meaty front line and disengage power if they're going to play Protect the Kog'Maw.
Who did it better, Frostgrim? BLG flexing Gragas top, but RNG flexing Gragas support.
I'm going to go with RNG flexing Gragas support. I'm not really a believer in the Gragas top, especially not when AJ's playing it.
Let Me will be picking up Jason to the top side of the map, going up against Saudi. MLSG with a aggressive jungler that's more tank-based, has lots of engage potential for the team. Have they set up to protect Uzi in this composition? Because yes, there's good crowd control and threats coming out from Zoe and Jace. Is that enough for them to make sure Uzi stays safe in this hyper carry?
But they also have so much poke, and I think that is also in tandem with the Kog'Maw.
Has plenty of poke himself.
Exactly. I still would have preferred Ashe, but like you were saying, Uzi's just more so a Kog'Maw player than he is necessarily an Ashe player. I think Ashe would have fit beautifully in this composition. Has a lot of poke, has a lot of hard CC, and initiation potential. But what I love about RNG's comp is, again, this balance of power. The fact that at every single point in the game, they have a champion who is strong or a win condition that they can play through.
Could be Uzi flexing as well. I mean, when AD carries were kind of taken out of the meta very early into just after MSI, Uzi showed, you know what, I can pick up Ashe, no one's playing it yet. Show you how it's done. One of his signature picks and has been for a while, but flexing on the Kog'Maw pick, going for more of a hyper carry. Yes, you mentioned the poke. Vici with all their pick potential though. They've got tons of tanks, great lockdown, even a Skarner to pull people back into the team. The safety of the Tarmkench helps out as well.
Now, where Vici need to be very careful though is when they get to scale up to have access to their hard CC. Because Swift is on a low impact jungler in the early game like a Skarner, Vici don't typically do very well when Swift isn't on something like a Nidalee, like a Sejuani, where he gets to race forward, set the tempo, set the pace of the game.
Okay.
And he's facing MLXG Sejuani. So I feel like while I like how kind of basic and vanilla Vici's composition is, because Swift isn't on a high tempo oriented jungler, that Vici have already kind of put themselves on a back foot because they rely on him so much to get them through their lane phase.
Well, let's see if they can survive without Swift or something early game as we get onto the Rift for match 1 between RNG taking on Vici. Another iteration on the home team chants coming out from RNG Stadium asking who are we, followed up with RNG and asking what their motto is shortly after. See that from the likes of Snake. They've got their own chants from Chongqing, even the teams like Team WE integrating drums into their chants of their home arena. It's great to see how the LPL is going to continue to evolve because they're adding new teams every single year, they're adding new stadiums every single split, and it slowly is becoming a very franchised league and lots of traveling circuits at the moment.
Fun fact, the Beijing Palace for the RNG arena is 800. It's our second largest home arena in the LPL. Xi'an holding 1,000 strong is the largest arena. And all of the playoffs, I believe, for LPL will actually be held in Beijing. So the RNG crowd and the arena, the fans, very passionate. It's constantly sold out there, and they will be rewarded.
Everything except for finals in the capital of China. On top of that, the motto for RNGS, I didn't quite know what the translation was, and I just got told, is champions for Oscar. And that's what they've been throughout this year. So champions of Spring Split, champions at MSI as well as bringing it home during Rift Rivals, but they need to shape up. They want to be champions of Summer and have a shot at the World Championship this year.
They have the ability to go for that triple crown because unfortunately when SKT won top of the world, Rift Rivals didn't really exist when they were making the run of both winning Worlds and MSI. So RNG could be allowed to do something that SKT were denied, which is Rift Rivals, MSI, and Worlds.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but even if we take Rift Rivals out of the equation, I don't think there's been a team that's won both domestic splits and both internationals in the year. The closest would have been SKT, but I believe they dropped one of their domestic splits, but I could be wrong. I haven't done my entire research so far on that.
I'd have to double check with Papa, the LCK historian.
I'd have to check with the LCK historian himself. Last time, remember, there was that RNG have the chance to make this year be that year, and for Uzi from no crown whatsoever to picking up every single trophy in the world. As nice! Who actually still gets it? What is going on with these two, Frosker?
Oh, the Swift wiggle. They've been competing over Scuttle Crab, Raptors, and now the Blue Buff. And we said that I kind of felt like it was disaster for Vici as soon as Swift didn't get an early game champion. Now, to his credit, he did try to fight on his shrines and do his little wiggle and be Skarner and try to duel the Sejuani, but it just wasn't working out for him. And now, unfortunately, poor little Swift has to play from that back foot.
Still two buffs going over towards these junglers. Amoshi will take away his own red buff now. Checking in with the runes that have been picked up by Uzi. So you're Gathering Storm complete on Kog'Maw, but not going for the absolute focus. Instead, the mana flow blend is being picked up to give him a bit more mana on this Kog'Maw pick.
And allow him to have a bit more poke, as we said, kind of the other aspect of RNG's composition with this chase.
Ooh, knocks out back, so we get some more poke here. Turns back to hammer form.
If he hits it with the Q.
Damage. Not enough. Doesn't have the cooldowns just yet. It's back to cannon form, I should have said. Good trades on the top side of the map, but there is a gank going into the bottom lane. Swift, level 3. We said this is not a good early ganking champion, but it's still going for it. Uzi forced to flash away very early, slowed down. No stun coming out from Swift. But respectful. Knows that he can burn a summon a spell and stay in this lane.
But very easy to gank when no one is placing their trinkets. Cough, cough, Uzi.
And I do want to look at the keystone runes in just a bit, but there is a gank top side of the map. Actually, as well as Let Me denying a huge wave. The top side will farm in between the two turrets, so good pick on towards Audi, don't get to kill.
And this was always going to be a problem. Zoe's going to have control over the wave from level 4, level 5 onwards. So you have that pivot point where you can have complete control over topside river. You then have Sejuani, a great skirmish-oriented jungler, especially around level 4, level 5. And then you have Jace up into the top lane, and Let Me is running away with the matchup. So it's expected that this is how the map's going to play out, that Uzi and Ming need to play defensive, they need to respect. Maybe they can try to outplay their opponent simply because they're stronger players, but otherwise RNG should be entirely focused on getting Let Me super fed and just letting Uzi sit next to Gragas and farm up on this Kog'Maw.
Well, I have a sneaky suspicion that this will be a lethality Varus coming out from Martin. He's gone back, trying to pick up Ionian Boots nice and early here. Swaps over to Caulfield's Warhammer instead, so it's going to be lethality picked up by Martin. He's running Comet on his Varus pick, so we saw a little bit of extra poke in that bottom lane every time he hits either Ming or Uzi with one of his spells. Hail of Arrows does slow, so it guarantees the Comet hit unless you have a gap closer to get away.
Going for the Deft and Prey Varus build. Again, why I really like Varus on the current patch out of all of the ADCs is his ability to poke, his ability to wave clear, he attack, he protect, and he has so many versatile build paths.
He's always been very popular for that build path. I mean, when he first hit competitive pro play, it was back when Bloodthirster, Last Whisper were the popular builds. Not too much lethality there, it was more about armor penetration back then. Then we saw the attack speed on hit Varus, we saw the crit Varus, now the poke Varus coming back out. Versatile champion, Martin's playing him well, trying to poke against Uzi as well as Ming, but they're standing their ground. It's a tie. Sorry, it's not a tie, but Zintai taking so much damage there, forced to flash away.
Here comes Swift.
Looking for another gank, doesn't have the support to back up this gank, and no ignite from their keystone, but Uzi doesn't have flash, so a flash forward comes out from Martin. First stun's onto Ming, one kill over towards Varus, looking for the second one. Uzi trying to kite this one away, but it's not going to work, and Swift does it. Gets two ganks into the bottom lane, will live through this Captain surprise as well, and Vici off to a strong start.
And again, there's no vision or very shallow vision coming out of RNG on the bottom side. Miscommunication, if you're going to try to go for plays like that, MLXG needs to be giving your bot lane attention and at least creating a safety net of either being in that bottom side river or placing down trinkets so Swift can't get repeat ganks. Or Uzi just needs to accept that he's not going to get that attention, that it is going to go to the top side and allow Let Me to be that chase. So this is, you know, again, some of the flaws, some of the hubris. If we're talking about, you know, why do JD Gaming look so impressive comparatively to our other top teams in the LPL? It's because they don't have the arrogance like this. This is simply Uzi's arrogance biting him in the ass. You can't be there with no vision.
Burn Ming's flash. They kill Uzi as well off the back half of that. Uzi tries to fight through. Didn't have enough damage in the end with the Acathian surprise, so the bottom lane falls.
And now they also don't have access to their flashes, and Martin, is he level 6? Yes, he is. So this lane can get incredibly dangerous.
Swift is level 6 as well. A big question towards Vici's composition is how do they survive early game with Swift being on a later game champion of the Skarner, not an early aggressive champion of the jungle. And turns out he can still be aggressive in the bottom lane.
But look at what RNG are doing on the top side of the map. So yes, Swift is, you know, he's hunting around that bottom side. They've got multiple control wards on bottom river to allow Skarner access into either the mid or bottom lane. But Xiaohu keeps cheating towards the top side. MLXG is placing a lot of deep vision, clearing out with Orb.
Coco taking a lot of damage there, but Swift flashes forward and brings back Xiaohu, looking for a fight. Coco in some trouble, almost takes enough damage, and the Palistar can't find its way through to Scorpion. Xiaohu 2-on-1 burns a flash from the jungler. Bit of blue suede shoes there.
Still, a lot of hubris coming out of RNG.
But we were talking about top side of the map as well as Swift trying to impact there. Audi's been punished quite heavily, and it is Let Me side of the map at the moment. Top lane out of turret taking some damage as well.
Just let top side collapse. RNG are trying to force a lot of very dangerous plays.
Even MLXG looking for a dive here against Coco, playing very safe against Xiaohu. Another Paddle Star is going to come out, doesn't get it, and the ultimate goes wide for MLXG. Trouble Bubble doesn't connect either. Coco runs around his turret now. Machine taking so much damage from this. Sorry, gets away from the final shot. Swift is there, but good jukes coming out from Coco.
Calm down. Everyone calm down. You're missing ultimates. You're forcing plays. You don't need to. Just exert pressure. This is a completely different series from the series that we just saw where JD Gaming were playing almost entirely a pressure-oriented game, playing around when they had control over waves, when they had control over perfect knowledge from acquiring vision. RNG are like, what vision? We're just going to flex on some kids. We're going to force plays, and it's going to bite them.
A 7,000 goal behind Vici. I mean, it's not a huge goal lead, but Vici will take what they can get. They've only picked up a single best-of-3 win this split in the LPL. Uzi going toe-to-toe against Martin, takes quite a bit of damage, but neither AD carry committing at the moment. It's a cleanse being picked up by Uzi, a teleport being picked up by Martin. We have Sintai picking up teleport for now, but does have unsealed spellbook to swap around some of his summoner spells. And had Ignite earlier.
Uzi's just playing hyper-aggressive. A, he has the cleanse, so he feels like he can be aggressive and try to force the kill pressure into this lane, because he can walk through that ultimate. And then B, he has the sustain. So he wants to take these trades because he has the Vamp Scepter, and then just slowly out-trade over time or whittle down this Varus, who went for the penetration versus the Bilgewater Cutlass.
He also started with Corrupting Potion on this Varus as well. So Martin combining that with his Biscuits, probably dabbling into the Potion rune as well with that.
The tonic.
He's going to have plenty of sustain himself to stay in this lane, just not through Lifesteal, which is what Uzi's trying to rely upon. That's hurting Ming quite a bit. No potions left available for Gragas, and he's below half hit points, and we constantly see him body slamming away to get out of damage. Latmi's going to rotate down towards bottom side of the map, a couple of plants being blown up, as well as a few control wards being taken away. RNG want to try and find some time to go back to base. Martin, as well as Singtai, used this time to rotate towards the mid lane, now going back to collect bottom lane's farm. Both of them, their teleports are going to be back up shortly, so summoner spells are available for all the bot lane members. Another force from LXG in the mid lane. Coco's going to get put to sleep. Paddlestar connects, and great timing as well to get the additional damage. Teleport will come through from Singtai, but Vici can't do anything. Good pick onto the mid lane.
Too little too late. RNG didn't even blink as they saw that defensive teleport coming from the Tom Kench. And now it's into the mid lane, and now into the top lane. RNG are completely controlling top side of the map. This is what needed to happen earlier.
Audi throws out the ultimate early, but doesn't get the first proc.
But he got the wave.
MLXG going to take some damage, and he's slowed down. Is this a solo kill? That last turret shot gets it! Audi with the 2-on-1 outplay. He's been kept under this turret the entire time for Oscar. It doesn't matter.
And that's the thing. It's miscommunication. Are we going for the tower? Are we going for the dive? They split up their damage. They split up their target focus. And Audi did a great job clearing out the wave with the Ornn ultimate, so the tower aggro just annihilated MLXG.
Gets red buff. Enough gold to pick up a frozen heart as well. Stays in lane a little bit longer. He's happy. Audi was kept underneath the turret for so long. Misplay by MXD means that he stays alive on the top side of the map and the game is dead even, which is something you don't want to be hearing if you're an RNG fan, because this is a team that just came back from Messiah 8 weeks ago with a win. Dead even against the last team in the LPL is not a place you want to be. This playoffs are only 2.5 weeks away.
And the unfortunate thing is that we still don't hear the alarm bells going off for RNG. It's just kind of like that voice at the back of your head that says, it's fine. Uzi's on Kog'Maw. They'll probably be able to out-team fight. It's Vici Gaming. There's no way they lose.
And if you're a Vici Gaming fan, you'd be happy with the current situation. 1 win so far in the LPL split. Going toe-to-toe against RNG in the early game. That's half of the match under your belt for now. Just need to find a way to execute in the mid and late game and send it home. Coco as well as Swift should be online now. We were worried about the early game for these two. Audi as well had a tough early game, but now doing fine. So mid game should be some signs of life for Vici.
MLXG needs to be very careful how he's playing around this bottom river, because he is competing with a Tom Kench who will always rotate the bot lane faster as long as he's paying attention.
Tom Kench still stuck in this bottom lane for now. Tides might have turned in this top lane matchup. Let me going aggressive. Zoe is here though, so Xiaohu looking for this, doesn't get the Hextech GLP slow onto Audi, and Audi simply flashes away back to safety. So despite bringing up the mid lane, I can't find a pick onto Audi. He's playing very well the top side of the map.
But it's actually going to be an even trade, so it's going to be a race right now for this tower. Fortunately for RNG, they have the wave crashing in, so they will get the first brick. And it's just a Cloud Dragon on the bottom side of the map versus Rift Herald. I think MLXG should actually be rushing towards the Rift Herald right now and starting that one up.
There are pings on towards it. It says that he's on the way. Uzi as well as being parking themselves in the mid lane. So they've sacrificed bottom lane. Martin's going to get the return on the turret there. And even Audi taking quite a bit of damage here. He just threw out his ultimate. It's not going to be enough from Xiaohu to get the kill, but flexing on Zoe for the moment. RNG might even be pushing for a second turret. Top side of the map, let me change his forms, and they get it. RNG rush down 2 turrets in the top side of the map, and they move towards Rift Herald.
The power of Zoe. Deep teleport from Vici. They're trying to crack this, and RNG haven't spent their gold.
Looking for the fight. They locked down Xiaohu. He did have the QSS. It gets a good heal as well, but Coco and Martin collapse. A good arrow to the knee will take down Zoe. And they punish RNG for the over-aggression. Hello?
They're just checking, making sure that no one got lazy with the
back. It's an expensive face check with the ultimate there, Martin.
It's fine. They'll get the cooldown. It also means, though, that MLXG had to back away from the Rift Herald, so there's an opportunity that even though the trade-up initially happened for RNG, cracking an inner structure on top side of the map, that if Vici get access to Rift Herald, that they can basically tie that up and crack mid.
Zoe used everything there as well. I know some of the spells available, and QSS was popped. Luden's Echo now being picked up. You're right, they didn't get the Rift Herald. And you'd expect with a trade of Elemental Dragon and turret for turret, with Rift Herald being taken on the team, gets the turret top side. That's going to be turned into 2 turrets later on. But Vici stopping that means they sacrifice their top lane in the turret, and they pick up Rift Herald themselves.
Yeah, which basically means on a trade that we previously weighted towards RNG is now firmly in Vici's hands. Yes, Audi is getting picked on and he's being forced down, but he hasn't died. He's still just got the 1 kill in his pocket, and he is a low econ top laner. You know, his job isn't to accumulate a ton of gold. His job is to press R and to stand in front of people.
Fire up the Orn Horn and soak some of the damage, bouncing people around his bouncy Hammer Funtime castle. That hurts. Let me showing Martin what the big boy cannon looks like instead of that pathetic arrow he's shooting out at the moment.
What's also interesting is that Martin has 10 CS more than Uzi. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't seen Uzi fall behind in lane for quite some time.
Now, obviously, the matchup, you know, not great. Martin's also been zipping around the map with the Tom Kench as well as having access to the teleport, so it makes sense, but even in situations like this, Uzi still usually comes out on top in CS discrepancies.
So with shoulder injury happening, reoccurring shoulder injury happening recently for Uzi, putting him on the bench, and him coming back to play just a few games ago, do we still think Uzi best player in the world right now? Or is it just, you know, shaky performances for now, meaning that he's still the best player, or is he starting to falter a little bit?
I mean, frankly, I haven't seen enough tape of Uzi being back. I haven't seen anything egregious yet from him, so I would still have confidence, but I just feel that RNG's decision-making as a team is quite problematic right now.
Almost got it there. Unless she wanted to cancel the Rift Herald throw, but now he doesn't have his own ultimate, so Vici could try and capitalize on this and push even further with this Rift Herald. We'll be able to take 1 turret for them. Martin with the final attack for that.
Here comes Ornn.
Force a fight. MLXG slowed down and knocked up by the Ornn ultimate. Swift chasing for it, but it was a flash being burnt by Let Me, as well as MLXG and Vici get a turret for themselves. This is a much more cohesive Vici. They're playing well against RNG to start this match.
And this very basic vanilla composition is really just abusing RNG. Again, kind of misreads around the map, getting greedy,
no
Swift
way.
flashing forward.
Over the barrel gets the kill. Ming locked down the entire duration, and Vici get another pick. They're playing so well.
And Vici showcasing that they don't need Swift to be an early game jungler. He did try to duel it out with the Skarner. He was able to secure both of his buffs despite the fact that MLXG was constantly in his face. But I feel like this was a huge blunder from RNG. They could have just played the pressure game and passively won top side of the map. But they kept over-exerting themselves, and right place, right time for Vici, and again now top side.
The poor puppy of Uzi gets locked down. Vici collapsed with not only the Rise ultimate, but the Tom Kench as well, making use of their map rotations. They get a pick onto the carry of RNG, and they're pushing towards top lane out to turret.
And now that tiny little voice in the back of your head that says, it's fine, it's RNG, they've got Kog'Maw. If you're an RNG fan, you start to get scared now.
This is where you start sweating. I mean, RNG already lost this week. They've already been upset. Wouldn't be the first time when they have Uzi. They have their full roster back. The good chickens helping Audi out. Sometimes you just need a little bit of luck in those scenarios.
God bless chickens.
Taking one for the Vici team. Audi's having a tough match. But
That's why Vici
performing
got
well.
stronger. It's no longer just 5 members. Now they've got the chickens in on it. I watch Baron be on their side too.
Save the Raptors.
It's been X number of days since a Velociraptor attack.
45 seconds till that Baron spawns as well. Cloud Dragon will come up at the exact same time. Already one Cloud Dragon being picked up by Vici. Gold is dead even. So we say, yes, this is good moves from Vici. They're making proactive plays, but they're still only even against RNG, and that's with a 6-1 kill lead.
But their composition is so much easier to execute. And there are, strong windows for RNG that they need to hit. They need to be in the pocket and be abusing those. We see all the time that LPL teams are attempting to draft Jace and play around it, but we just don't have the caliber of top lane to make that possible. With the Shy sharing so much time with Duke, he's kind of like our big, if we have a Smeb in our region, it would be the Shy, and you would say that he's the guy that can get away with playing someone like a Jace. Everyone else, we have a bunch of tank top laners.
Right, because Jace is very popular as a first pick in the VCS, the Vietnamese region. Very often comboed with an aggressive jungler to just focus on top side. Just make sure that they constantly attack the top lane and that's where they get ahead. Because Jace behind doesn't perform very well. RNG still got Jace ahead. 195 CS to the 140 of Audi's, but as you mentioned, it felt like they could have punished that a little bit more.
But it's also, you need to now make use of the Jace. So where is Zoe and Jace teaming up together? Where are RNG sieging, where they get to spell fling and utilize this poke? It's,
split up in the side lanes for now.
Exactly, if your laners are strong, but if you never use that power window that you have, and this is why RNG are struggling, they put together these compositions, and then it's almost like they don't know what they do or when they are strong or how to play around them, which is completely false. These are your MSI champions, but what the hell are they doing?
Bear in mind this is patch 8.14 as well, so the changes that went to scaling 80 carry items haven't come in just yet. Trying to nerf them a little bit to get an earlier power spike for 80 carries. Martin doesn't care. He's got a Dust Blade, a BF Sword, and a Yomu's Ghost Blade. Double lethality item going for more damage. His power spike is pretty much now. It's going to be difficult for RNG to siege against. Yes, they got the poke of Zoe, they got the poke of Kog'Maw as well as Jace, but Martin's happy with his current position. Again, Vici have crowd control on every single member of their roster.
And it's also their access into backline. The fact that between Coco's Rise and Swift's Skarner, it is very dangerous for both Zoe and Kog'Maw. RNG need to be on their best behavior to create space for their carries, to lay down enough poke and to look for these kills. Whereas Vici's composition, it is so easy to lay down the poke, to find the counter engage, to disengage correctly because they have the Tahm Kench. Like, it's easier.
Well, that's a good spike coming out for Uzi here. So he's got his Blade of Ruin King as well, with the Rage Blade complete. And while she moves from the blue side of his jungle towards the Raptor camp, looking for a flank. Trouble Bubble connects onto Skarner, but he's perfectly fine. Martin's still firing away these arrows. He has the BF Sword and now a pickaxe, so probably going towards either Storm Razor or Infinity Edge later on.
Vici are lost. They don't know
what to do next.
They don't know how to crack the inner structures right now. They're not moving their vision line, and they're not making the most of their pick composition. You can see that they don't have a lot of control over their ward line, or RNG have been able to kind of fight them off or make the map very black.
One thing they do have going for them is side lanes are pushing in Vici's favor. But they do look fairly lost for us. I'm with you on this one. In fact, both these teams look lost 23 minutes into this match.
But that only helps RNG because the longer this game goes on, you still assume that RNG will be the stronger team fighters just because of the caliber of players that they have on the roster. Even though I still feel that Vici's composition is so much easier to execute in a 5v5. And with RNG really playing beneath expectations, here we go. They figured it out.
They rotate Zoe to a side lane. Xiaohu doesn't have teleport. So Vici capitalized on the other lane that was pushy, which is bottom side of the map. Move their members down here. They might just break an inner structure for us going.
And the difference was they finally stepped forward. They placed their vision deep in RNG's jungle, and they got the proper information to step up onto these pushing waves and start sieging these structures.
So that's one down. So they might have looked a little bit lost, but they got there eventually. 2,000 gold is the lead for Vici. They're playing these nice and safe. They're taking their time, making sure they don't make any unforced errors. The match has been going strong for Vici so far. I'm impressed with the way they've been playing.
And they've also got a lot of key items on all of their targets, not just their 2 carries, but really key defensive items across their tank line. So Vici are very strong if RNG attempt to look for a 5v5, unless it's a massive outplay or fundamental and significant poke goes down before the fight. I don't think RNG can win a 5v5. So if I'm Vici, you're almost looking for the kill shot here. It's much easier to set up kind of cracking the next inner structure of towers. You now walk towards that red side of the jungle, you start placing the vision, and you just start utilizing the Varus. Have the Tahm Kench stand behind him, allow him to throw out as much poke as he wants, and just slowly start chipping away at RNG until they get desperate and then walk into a 5v5 that they can't win.
Varus has 3 items now, so Storm Razor complete with double lethality and the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. On top of that, you've got Crafting Potion for the additional poke and damage over time to time with Comet. Difficult. If he finds a couple of arrows onto RNG's backline, they can't teamfire anymore.
This is dangerous.
He actually needs to hit those arrows, Martin.
Tahm Kench, that's who's. My eyes are on Tahm Kench. He just needs to keep Varus safe.
They just locked down Uzi, forced him to use his QSS. That's 2 ultimates being burnt, and Swift has found Uzi. Had his own QSS there to try and stay alive. Popping the cleanse earlier from the arrows that came out from Martin, now flashing away. So they got Uzi's cleanse, they got his flash and his QSS, but they can't find a fight.
But a huge fumble from Tahm Kench. The fact that he stepped too far forward, that he was forced to use his flash defensively for himself as opposed to repositioning one of his carries, meant that Vici had to fight that fight from the back foot when they should have just very clearly won it. So RNG able to out-execute them, but all it means is that RNG stay alive. In the end, Vici get access to RNG's jungle. They start to eat up all of these control wards, forces RNG to spend more gold to secure that type of vision, and slowly start to cede more control around that red side jungle.
And they're moving straight towards Baron buff. They've got this controlled. I think the ward at the back, yep, ward at the back has been controlled, so it's swept out, and they're going to start this. Martin drops down some of the honey fruit, so now you can pick it up to get some mana back and continue poking over the walls. They disengage with RNG placing down vision.
And this is just a product of, again, Vici not really understanding what they need to do to crack the Rubik's Cube that is RNG's defense right now. They feel that they must force the Baron, and again, it's kind of like a high-risk, medium-reward type of play, because if they're caught out for how long it's going to take them, they would just get absolutely devastated on the Baron, and that's how RNG come back out. But you don't need to force the monster objective. You need to play the vision game and play the pressure game in the lanes, and then make the use of your pick. You gotta hit those!
Neither the Paddle Star nor the Shock Blast combo connected onto Martin while he was asleep there. RNG trying to capitalize, and Sintide saving him there.
It is going to be so devastating if Vici gets stalled out here long enough for RNG to scale up on Zoe and Tahm Kench, or excuse me, on Zoe and Kog'Maw, because they are missing these key ultimates. They need to hit the Varus ultimate. They need to be using Skarner ultimate. I haven't seen Skarner lock anyone down in the last, I think, 7 minutes.
Triple QSS makes that so difficult, and with Uzi packing cleanse into the matchup.
But just grab me. You still then grab the primary disengage target, which makes your Ornn ultimate that much more powerful.
Which they did very early into the match. I mean, Swift flash forward without hesitation, lock down the support. It's the support Kragus. He's not very tanky yet. Even if they catch Let Me, that's another target you can pull back into your team, and very easy to kill a squishy Jace. Hit it with that. Martin needs to hit these arrows as well.
I want an accuracy counter or a percentage.
Just how many gold V and how many God V has been going on so far?
Plat 5.
Oh, no. Martin hasn't gone back to base for some time, so you're expecting to be sitting on quite a large amount of gold. 3 items was where he was fairly strong. 4 might be enough to push Varus over the edge, and then you'd expect Kog'Maw to start taking over from there. Uzi going very defensive. Should be Mercurial Scimitar picked up next. So plenty of lifesteal, and the added Rage Blade to make sure he gets the double procs. Play the Ruin King passive.
But that's still giving a lot of leeway to Vici because RNG are waiting on Uzi. So they still got some time to get their ducks in a row and start executing on this composition. They're like round 5, shoving it up mid lane. We will get the tower.
Oh, hits an arrow, goes onto MLXG, but Martin takes quite a bit of poke once again. Let me try to do what he can as Xiaohu tries to go for a paddle star combo, doesn't connect. Audi gets his ultimate cancelled with the ultimate coming out from MLXG. Now Swift at the helm with some poke coming out from Let Me. It's just been poked back and forth, Frosco, and it's Swift and Xiaohu against Martin.
You don't need to A-ramp though. Like, I have no problem trying to use the Varus poke, but if you're not landing the skill shots, this is at some point where you simply cannot execute on the competition. So this is what you need to do. You have Ryze, who is incredibly strong, and you play him out into a side lane, and you protect him with the Abyssal Voyage from Tahm Kench. You have your Varus and your Tahm Kench parked in mid lane, constantly shoving forward, and then you start placing vision underneath Coco on the Ryze, and you try to split up RNG instead of letting them A-ram at you and then throw their ultimates when you attempt to siege. And this is the difference between Vici Gaming and JD Gaming, is that JD now recognize there's multiple play patterns to break these towers, and Vici are still figuring it out. They think this is Howling Abyss.
But unfortunately for Vici, it's some of the Swift that come in today, and Martin tries to get that final auto attack. Sintai says no. I need to keep you safe because you keep taking half your health and damage from one combo.
I wish
scary.
I knew how long they've been sieging this one tower.
I'd give it about 7 minutes for now.
This is brutal.
He still hasn't gone back to base.
Because Uzi's just sitting here picking up farm. At one point in this game, Varus had 10 to 20 CS on Uzi. Uzi has now overtaken that.
There it is. Uzi's picked it up.
Oh boy.
He's got the lead. He's got triple items at the moment on Kog'Maw. It's a very staple Uzi build, going for his first 2 core items and then a straight up Mercurial Scimitar. No matter what, we've seen this Uzi do it quite a bit during Spring Split as well as Summer. GA is the next pick for Martin, and that entire time sitting on 3 items doesn't have enough to pick up GA, which is a relatively cheap AD carry item, so he hasn't been getting the gold that his team would want. Oh my goodness, popped his, that might kill him there. He tries to use the QSS and it's a snipe. Field goal's good coming out from Ming. Mistake from Martin to use that crucial stopwatch. And RNG capitalized.
And now you suddenly start to see the tempo shift back towards RNG. They've got the items that they needed onto Zoe.
That's Baron, isn't it?
You're starting to see the one-shots come through. And Vici kind of fumbled their big window where they had tempo, they had momentum, they could have started to break this game open, start suffocating RNG on the map. Misexecution, missed skill shots have now put them on the back foot.
Oh, here's that again. It's poor Martin.
Boom.
See, mate. Have one on the house.
That was a sneaky Iki boar if I've ever seen one.
So now it's completely gone in RNG's favor. It was even for some time. Vici took a 2,000-3,000 gold lead here. Now RNG's pulled it back. So they were set back a little bit by QSS pickups as well. Doesn't matter too much for Uzi anymore because he's upgraded his to a Mercurial Scimitar, but still QSS for Xiaohu as well as MLXG. Triple Cloud Dragon has been picked up by Vici.
It's almost like with all of that added mobility, they could try to play a side lane with Tahm Kench and Ryze.
But mid lane out of turret is still standing, Frostgoon. We need mid lane out of turret to full. So Vici's not going anywhere just yet.
Swift! Wiggle away!
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Grab someone. Preferably Zoe.
Get rid of that QSS first somehow.
Oh boy. It's just brutal.
Knights. Sorry, not Knights. Yeah, Knight's Vow has been picked up by Sejuani, so Uzi's got some added protection. Even the Zeke's Harbinger being picked up by Ming, so Uzi is very, very strong right now. Azeel being picked up, looking towards probably a Hurricane next for him. As you get him, Lampy, you show him who's boss. Rotations coming. Vici! They went to a side lane for Oscurin! They've made it!
RNG completely caught out of position. They're going to lose a lot of damage, and Ryze still has his ultimate. So if they really want to hit and run, oh my god. If you really want to hit and run, you take the tower and you ult out.
90%. Okay, I'm quite happy with a 90% Vici play. So now top lane and mid lane out of, inner turrets are low. Vici just do the do-si-do. They come back for round 2 top side.
Aren't you like, there's no way they continue to siege top lane.
Well, Swift wiggled in this time, Frostgurn.
Oh boy.
is a very slow League of Legends
I feel like
match.
my taste buds were really... I basically brushed my teeth in series number 1. You know, had that nice minty
Got the good
toothpaste.
Yakao.
Yeah, exactly. Felt minty fresh, was great. And then I came into this series, immediate orange juice.
I mean, it started like you started, you're like, wow, that's some premium orange juice that we've got going on. Vici start very strong against RNG.
It was
Then
like
you remember,
pulp first.
you remember, oh, I brushed my teeth. I can't have it anymore. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it. Unfortunately, it seems to be the motto for Vici right now. There's fights across the map though. Sintai's forced to flash over the wall. Martin's getting not quite locked down. Has his GA available? MLHG whiffing with the flash ultimate and charge there.
It's all just going... It's starting to break down, Fish.
We're starting to drink orange juice and brush our teeth after drinking some of the orange juice and just not remember why we didn't need to brush our teeth in the first place.
I don't know. There's some mimosas going on right now because this is starting to devolve. We're getting a little bit antsy. We're flashing all over the place. We're pushing forward. All of the plays have been thrown out the window, and both these teams need to calm down, reset, back to fundamentals. This is wide open. I don't know who wins this game right now.
I actually don't know either. I mean, RNG is scaling. Hurricane's complete for Uzi.
Everyone's technically scaling, but this is literally going to come down to execution. And when it's the best team in the world versus the last place team in the LPL, that should not be the conclusion that happens.
Yeah, and it should not be both teams fumbling execution either.
The ball is in the air, and I don't know who's going to come down with it.
Got him. Okay, what are these two doing? Because this is just howling a bit.
This is what's happened. All of the resources have been funneled into Uzi. He's level 17 right now. So for the last, I don't know, 20 minutes that Vici have been attempting to siege that tower, which is still standing, by the way. Uzi has been sitting mid lane and getting free experience and free farm.
Oh no, it's 415.
RNG's win condition is 400 CS Kog'Maw. It's Uzi. He's going to take the Elder by himself alongside this
Wait,
Jizz.
what? Hey!
And then we'll walk this over to Baron and win a team fight and end the game.
Oh, they got Elder Dragon. That was quick. Let me and Uzi do it. But meanwhile, it's going to be Vici looking towards Baron buff. So Elder Dragon picked up for RNG. How much he goes in, he doesn't get it. Instead they lock down Sejuani, good damage on towards him as Sintai eats him up, spits him back up, picks up the kill, 4v5. Rai's going to try and drop ship into the back lines. Uzi caught between a rock and a hard place. Everyone piles on in on top of the Cosmo, tries to QSS out, still alive for a little bit. Aldi takes him down. GA being popped by Let Me, and it seems like Vici get the upper hand in this Elder Dragon Baron buff trade.
Vici have done it. They killed the Prince. The king is dead.
We got him.
They took the Baron. And now they're teleporting in.
They're rushing down mid.
They want to try to end this, or at least take an inhib.
Okay, they've got 40 seconds on Let Me.
It's down.
And 30 onto Uzi. They finally get the mid lane inner turret. Martin is here at full hit points. Vici are pushing for at least the inhibitor here, and with that teleport, it almost looks like Vici said, we need a win. Let's go for the win now.
All of the gold is on Kog'Maw. He's 17 seconds dead. Vici, just go.
They're pushing for that win. Skarner and Rise are collapsing shortly. Vici should be able to get enough turret damage onto the first Nexus turret, but Uzi's going to come back up shortly. And once Uzi's back up, it's 10 seconds for Let Me. The first Nexus turret falls and Ming throws out an early ultimate. Uzi now going to join that fight. Has his Berserker boots upgraded, but LMG taking a lot of damage. Ornn's ultimate thrown down, misses the first charge, but connects with the Xiaohu with the second who gets locked down. Forced to use his Zhonya's and stopwatch, but the arrow misses. The arrow hits him while he's in stasis. Now Uzi wants to cut to the fight. Stopwatch being burned by Let Me to stay alive. Aldi's in some trouble. Uzi looking for that final auto attack, and the redemption! Gets it for Zoe, picks it up, and RNG repelled the base attempt coming out from Vici.
Windows down, base up, just put that $300 car in reverse Vici and just back it on out. You got what you came for, you made your point, and you're still sitting pretty comfortably in the driver's seat for this game.
They just look like the cool kids in the parking lot. Speakers on full, windows all rolled down, but when it was...
It's all about the sound system.
There was a crowd that gathered to watch and see what was going on. I mean, there was this decked out car in the area, but, you know, it was kind of embarrassing when they tried to start it and it wouldn't start. And then everyone was just like, okay, that's a bit of a caparas right there.
But I love the the balls and the confidence here. Again, it's a high reward, kind of low risk play. You know, if RNG do manage to win the team fight, you've already picked up so much global gold because you took 2 towers, you've killed the inhib, you've taken a nexus structure, that if RNG do win the fight here, all it stops is the end of the game. So Vici recognizing exactly when to strike, didn't get the perfect execution that we expect of more higher level teams, but you know, 6,000 gold, 63,000, still sitting pretty.
63 to 67,000. Uzi sitting at 5 items as well as a potion for himself in case the team fight starts, whereas instead of the potion, Martin's got a zeal for himself. So in terms of raw power, Uzi currently has that with the additional stats as well as the scaling from Kog'Maw.
To hit anyone.
If he gets to hit anyone, and if the drop ship coming out from Coco doesn't put multiple members behind him once again, I really want to know how many arrows Martin's missed this game, because there have been quite a few that have gone just wide.
You miss all of the shots you don't take, Fish.
Kirby.
And if you aim for the moon and you miss, you still land in the stars. Vici are doing the impossible. They're going to take down the MSI champs.
They're going to try and go for the stars. Let's see if they can get there. So they already tried to hit the moon. The Nexus said no. Go back down. Shuttle launch is not today. Now sieging for bottom lane inhibitor turret. Now Vici's Baron buff just expired with this wave, but it's a cannon wave, so a little bit more to work with. But RNG being classic RNG, they said, okay Uzi, see all this farm. Everything that the sun touches is yours. We just don't go to the place, that dark place over there.
Or over there, or over there, or over there.
But as long as there's farm, and we can see it, and we can see you, you can take it. Just don't go to the elephant graveyard, that's all.
And it's really difficult because Audi should be prepping the top side of the map. You know, they can't just siege onto all of the wave clear between Zoe and Kog'Maw in 2 lanes. They need to really be working 3 lanes. And again, this is kind of the breakdowns of fundamentals and the individual pieces of Vici. Why isn't the Ornn on the top side, or even Coco on top side? He doesn't have TP. Don't like that one as much. But they're not using the mobility that they have with Abyssal Voyage, Teleport, and Realm Warp to really break open this map as effectively as they should be. But still, credit where credit is due. Vici have gotten us to this point, and it's the last hurdle. We're almost there.
And we have seen them use their teleports, we've seen them use their Rise ultimates quite effectively. Now, Vici do have to be a little bit careful because Baron buff does come up in 2 minutes. If RNG can successfully stall, there is a chance for them to try and make that trade between Baron and Elder once again.
I would be so angry, Fish.
And second Elder is punishing. We rarely get to see it anymore since the changes that were made, but second Elder kills teams. There's a potential. They've got to wait some more time because the spawn timer for Elder is a little bit longer than Baron buff.
I can just imagine Vici's coach sitting backstage, just white-knuckled like, okay, we're right there. We're right in front of the finish line. You guys can do it. One more stretch.
Crawl if you have to. Just get over that finish line. Uzi's looking for his Infinity Edge, it would seem, as the Hurricane, so he wants the 60% crit with the rest of on-hit build he has.
I feel like with that announcer claiming that the inhib is going to come back up, that was like the cannonball from the Hunger Games being announced to Vici, and they're like, oh no. Now RNG are unlocked from their base. It's going to come down to a 5v5 around one of these monster objectives. You talked about the importance of second Elder.
Baron buff's up first, 45 seconds, and immediately after, it's 1 minute till Elder Dragon.
And again, at this point in the game, both ADCs have access to a tank and then access to enough items that, if need be, they could solo one of these monster objectives with some assistance, or at least with one tanking member. So it's not just the fact that it's probably going to come down to a big 5v5, it's also that your vision game needs to be on point because some sneaky stuff can start to happen.
Sintai is holding on to his exhaust as well, not using the Unsealed Spellbook yet, so I like that. If you need to shut down Uzi, adding another layer or another spell to the mix would help out. 10 seconds on Baron buff, and it seems like Vici have control of the mid lane. But RNG are trying to regain control here and there, making sure they can be aggressive when they need to. 4, 5 QSS picked up by RNG.
There's really small windows where Vici have to hit, and it's kind of between the rotation of skills from Xiao, who as soon as he doesn't land one of these paddle stars or one of these sleepy trouble bubbles, that's kind of the go button for Swift and Coco. Because there's so many QSSs, they need to go at the same time because one of these layers of CC needs to hit.
Ooh. Ultimate comes out from Ming over the Raptor camp as MLSG tanks up a lot of damage, even using his Gargoyle Stoneblade off the back of not only his passive, but Aftershock as well. Very tanky Sejuani, but at half health now. Uzi got a good opportunity to wail onto Swift, but good play by Singtai. Saves Skarner at the start of the fight. Looking to be aggressive still. Vici are split up. That's a flash away from Singtai again, being rather safe, but we talked about that in one of the early plays of the match. If you flash away that early on, you can't use it to save your carries. And now Elder Dragon's online. They stole long enough. RNG can force a fight.
And it feels like RNG are just able to out-execute Vici right now. Because of the safety of the QSS, oh, they're going to run for Baron.
But what? It's Baron against Elder 2. Yes, I understand Baron lasts a little bit longer, but Elder 2 is so strong.
But you can try to force it that maybe you don't get the fight with the Elder, and instead you try to play one of those side lanes. We'll see if Vici are able to execute on it, but my biggest concern is that it feels like Vici don't have any confidence that they win team fights anymore. They've just kind of given up. They say that we can't hard engage fast enough to deal with the amount of poke that's coming out of Zoe, Kog'Maw, and Jace right now, because their only option at this point is to Realm Warp, you know, multiple people into RNG, and that's into a Sejuani.
Vici go back to base, pick up bits and pieces of their items. I mean, an upgraded Death Cap, an upgraded Locket being picked up here and there. Just on looking for his final item. Zhonya's and Death Cap for Coco with fully stacked Spellbinder. If he gets access to Uzi, he can pop that 80 carry. But speaking of Uzi, Infinity Edge complete. 0 kills on this Kog'Maw, 550 CS. They have protected and raised the puppy up. Now they need to find him a good position for these fights. Both summon spells are available for the 80 carry of RNG.
You've got two protagonists in this game. You have Uzi, the king. Now his kingdom has been wounded, but it's not playing in top form. And then you have Coco, the newest protagonist, the newest challenger to the LPL. He's with his bro Swift, brought him back from the dead. This is Rise versus Kog'Maw if I've ever seen it, with an assist from Zoe.
Let Me and Uzi both have their 6 items. Zoe still sitting on a QSS, which is unfortunate, but might swap that out for something like a Zhonya's Hourglass instead. MLXG still sitting on his own QSS as well, which separates these two teams, because Ornn's still sitting on his component, but it's only really Skarner looking for the 6th and final item. The side of the rest of their carries of Coco, Varus, who has Gathering Storm. They're looking good this late in the match. Vici make a big power play. Where was this Vici 10 minutes ago?
Protagonist Coco leading the charge.
Going for the fight, Uzi trying to find a good position for himself. Shock Blast comes out from Let Me, they start the fight. They get a good lockdown onto Coco, forced to use his own cleanse to get away from that. Audi charges back in, but completely whiffs his own ultimate. Uzi is staying in a good position away. Double lifesteal item means he can take this poke as long as he can hit some minions close by, but as soon as the poke comes out from Martin, as soon as it comes out from the rest of the team, they have to disengage. Elder Dragon is expiring for RNG shortly. They don't have much of a window anymore to continue pushing with this incredibly strong objective. Remember, this is the 2nd Elder Dragon that RNG have picked up.
And everyone's just gonna disengage. Oh, I hope you're buckled up, Fish, for the long haul.
They're not done yet. They're going to try and drop ship away. RNG are forcing this one though. MLXG is here, no ultimate available. Smites Swift and tries to lock him down for a bit, but they finally realize the relentless aggression is not going to be enough. And guess what? 2nd Elder lasts long enough to outlast Baron almost. 30 seconds is all that is left on Baron buff. There's still some time on this 2nd Elder Dragon buff. It's a good trade from RNG ultimately. Vici just hold on to fight another day. Gold is irrelevant at this point. It all comes down to execution.
And again, the primary problem is that it feels like Vici don't know what to do with their composition to fight RNG's comp. Between Uzi and Xiaohu, they're just laying down 2 long range of poke, and then Vici don't have the options to look for the hard engage because Skarner is pretty much rendered useless at this point unless those QSSs fall. So Coco and Skarner need to hit together. Some form of CC needs to connect, but even then, this is so hard to fight from Vici's compositional point of view.
Now RNG on the offensive with the bits and pieces of Elder Dragon left for them to work with. They push through mid lane inner turrets. They take that one down nice and easy. Vici on the back foot. They'd be pretty happy that Elder Dragon's gonna, you know, the buff is gonna drop off of RNG soon, and Baron buff will come up first once again. But second Elder wasn't enough. Third Elder has to be the lights out, right, Frostgrin? Right? Really? Right?
No.
Longest game of Summer Split incoming. We're going for the full, what was the LCK record? We had an hour and a half in Spring Split.
No, don't even bring up Janair right now.
Gathering Storm, come on. Martin's like 60 minutes in 1 second. 60 minutes in 1 second.
Vici needs to just stop playing these 5v5s. I feel like they're rolling the dice thinking that they'll catch RNG out of position, which is very fair. Maybe they do, and everything cracks open. Neither team is playing flawlessly right now. But I feel like Vici have been most successful when Coco just goes on one of his solo missions. He's going campaign mode. He's done with multiplayer. I am in full support of that. He hits towers like a truck right now.
We even see some items being swapped around. Lord Dominic's Regard was picked up
There
by
he goes.
Varus.
Solo mode Coco.
He's on a mission once again. If you're not going to do it, I will.
Now all Vici needs to do at this point is just hold the waves and protect Rise. But they didn't, and here we are again. We're going to go to 3 Barons.
Baron buff number 3. 1 minute and 30 seconds until that one spawns. It should be about 1 minute 15 extra. So once Baron buff spawns, you'd have like 1 minute and a bit until Elder Dragon number 3 spawns. And now we already saw how painful it was for Vici to do against that second Elder Dragon, because it does last longer than Baron buff. It does have a way more increased stats. Surely, Elder Dragon number 3 is where it's lights out, left, right, good night.
Now you're just jinxing it, Fish.
There's no jinx in this match. It's a Kog'Maw as well as a Varus. I can't jinx anything.
Oh boy, I knew that this series was going to be a roller coaster. I had prepared myself. It's fine, I have water, I can hydrate.
So did I. I mean, it's been a fantastic showing. Welcome to the Howling Abyss / Butcher's Bridge special of the LPL. Where the teams just want to ARAM and the turrets don't matter right now.
It's all just about who's going to posture correctly in this mid lane. They're,
right,
they're racing
where
towards
are you
top.
going?
Use it. Use the Rise Realm
Hey,
Ward.
there is only one Nexus turret, so they drop ship into the base. But Uzi's position here is actually really good. He can stand and deliver for a long time, but the rest of the team gets there first. But unfortunately, it's only Uzi that's here to start. Frontlining at the moment, locked down. Uzi, what are you doing? Vici collapsed onto the AD carry, and the king of RNG. They kill him, and now they're marching towards the base.
Vici still being zoned out by Xiaohu, the last line of defense for RNG here.
It's too long though, 60 seconds onto Uzi.
All they need to do is wave clear. They need to keep the creeps away from the structures.
Oh, look at that. Let me with the hero play is able to deny that for now.
There.
Vici trying to collapse. They don't have the minions, but there's only one Nexus turret. Vici can try and brute force this, but they're buying as much time as possible.
They're finally deciding to do it. Audi stepping forward to tank. This is all about Xiaohu.
Teleport coming in towards top side of map, trying to keep them alive, but it's going to be LXG that tries to hold on. Martin flashes away, gets towards the exit. They've done it! Good stuff for Vici. Sloppy mid-game, but they collapse onto the king. They kill Uzi. They take game 1 over RNG.
Woo! It was a doozy. And it's only game 1. I have a sneaking suspicion we might be going to 3 games, Fish. Because that was a tug of war.
Might need to cancel any plans that you have tonight, Frostgrin. That was a long match, and it doesn't seem like Vici or RNG are done anytime soon. It looked promising with the plays Vici were making. Dropship into the base, getting onto the inhibitor turret. Uzi with a fumble, a rare mechanical mistake that is something we expected him to be able to perform. In those situations, he was not.
Yep, step forward, face checked immediately into so much hard CC. That said, still a 52-minute game, one of the longest that we've had in the LPL. And a lot of it because Vici could not figure out multiple ways to break open the map, despite the fact that their composition gave them so many tools to do so.
And to be fair, RNG were fumbling on the execution as well for most of that match.
I think if RNG ever lost to Vici, that's a safe assumption to make.
Oh boy.
It's one of those nights, Fish.
The Kings, the MSI champions, dropping to the last place team in the LPL at the moment in Game 1. Vici did look strong when they did make the correct macro plays. When they did use the Ryze ultimate and Tomkin's ultimate effectively, they looked good. They shortened the weakness of not having Swift with an early game ganking jungler by nullifying top lane's advantage as well as ganking the bottom lane pre-6 and getting kills there, but it was really the mid game when they started pushing for inner turrets. The first one looked good, and then they spent 7 minutes mid lane, and it was another 20 minutes until that mid lane inner finally fell. Just fumbling on the execution, but ultimately making the big play at the end of the match and taking it to RNG's base instead of sitting around and waiting for that third major buff spawn.
I actually feel like a big issue for Vici, if they kind of want to look in on this game and find growing pains, is Zentai on Tahm Kench there. You know, he didn't seem like he was very proactive. Obviously, I'm not in call, so I just have to go off what I'm looking at, but wasn't stepping forward and placing Vision at the correct time, was often caught out, forced to burn his flash defensively as opposed to using it to reposition one of his carries in a pivotal mid-game team fight, and then wasn't, you know, if this is simply him saying, you know, I have Abyssal Voyage, we can play one of those side lanes, or just kind of being silent and being waiting to be told what to do. I think this is kind of the big growing pain issue, because if that is, you know, Ming on Tahm Kench or Mako on Tahm Kench, you start making those side lane plays so much more often. And so I think that Vici, if they go back and they watch tape of game number 1 and try to figure out, okay, how do we clean this up? That's where you look at the support's performance.
They had the right idea, just execution was lacking at times. And the basic identity of the game from the moment where Vici were unable to take inner turrets and RNG were unable to push back as heavily as they would have wanted to, was who can take Elder Dragon, who can take Baron buff. Only the first of which we actually saw a fight, where it was Uzi as well as Let Me who duoed the Elder Dragon, and the rest of the 3 from RNG tried to stop Baron from being taken by Vici, and actually led into a fight where Vici decided, okay, we had enough from this to try and push for the win. Ultimately, this play, although they only got 1 inhibitor turret, as well as 1 Nexus turret, was enough for them to make that game-winning play.
Yeah, and it was because it laid down the groundwork that they were able to capitalize on later with the Ryze Realm Warp. And again, credit to Coco. He is the shining light of Vici Gaming right now. It was him, time and time again, that was leading these key plays to allow Vici to take that victory despite the missed executions from multiple members. The fact that Varus isn't hitting piercing arrows, that a lot of the Varus ultimates aren't connecting, that Tahm Kench isn't being very proactive with his champion kit. It was time and time again Coco running out into a side lane and like, not today, we're going, I swear to God, if I have to drag you over this line myself.
And he did. I mean, he was the one that made that play.
Yeah.
They snuck into the blue side of RNG's jungle and used the Realm Warp to get into the base. And then we saw something that is uncharacteristic of Uzi. He was in a good position.
Oh, no. Do not say that this is uncharacteristic of Uzi. I remember that people, they have forgotten Uzi's past grievances. They say he's MSI champion. He's the greatest player in the world right now. And don't get me wrong, he was. But I have casted over 1,000 games of Uzi. That is classic Uzi. That is domestic Uzi almost every single time. It wasn't until 2018 that Uzi learned how to position domestically as opposed to international. So welcome back, domestic Uzi. It's good to see that you're still around.
QSS, cleanse, flash, all of it hitting
Dead.
the wall. Dead Uzi. And it looked like a good position for him because they had to exit the base. They couldn't just rush towards the Nexus, if not the flank would come out from RNG. And he just steps way too far forward. Could have waited for his entire team to get in front of him first as well. It was a protect the Cogmore composition. He had, what, 550 CS before he hit 6 items? 0 kills until that time too.
Uzi was always famous for his target selection. He was never famous for his positioning. Again, it wasn't until spring split of 2018 that Uzi was suddenly like, oh my god, his positioning is god tier, his target selection is god tier, his champion pool is god tier, like no one can stop this guy. Not taking anything away from Uzi when he stood on top of the world, But for how long his career is, in terms of that timeline, that is a very small window where everything is aligned. That is much closer to 90% of the Uzi that I've seen over the last, I don't know, 6-7 years.
And game one ends in an upset where Vici able to pick up the victory off the back of their mid laner of Coco, who played Ryze in that set and looked very good on Ryze, even making those crucial calls, which we didn't see Vici make too often in the match itself. He was a key performer and deserves the MVP match in the first game.
Again, windows down, base up. Vici came in. They're just cruising along the highway right now with Coco.
If they've got a dinky car that has a great stereo, Coco's the man that's picking the right track to play at the right time.
Oh yeah, he's the subwoofer.
Oh my goodness, Coco's able to pull them over the line the last few fights, as well as the plays that Vici were making. RNG now down at their home stadium, and it could be another upset coming their way as Vici looks strong that first match. Let's go into a break. We'll be back with game 2 in just a short while.
危机眼中的奇迹是用熏血浇灌过后的开花结果。